Welcome to 4D Conversations. I'm Nathan Hegedus, and I'm here with Alon Rozen, the Dean of the École de Ponts Business School in Paris. Alon is a fellow member of the 4D community, and he has written two powerful posts on AI and cognition and the power of doubt. He also did a 4D conversation on complexity. Today, we are continuing our series on what is the metacrisis. And so, Alon, welcome. And I guess that's our basic question. What is the metacrisis for you?
Hey, Nathan. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to having this conversation today. And excited because the 4D community is really, I'd say, pushing this conversation further. Hopefully we're having ripple effects and, hosting the conversation, helping others have this conversation, and maybe getting into understanding why the metacrisis is an important subject to tackle. I'm pretty sure, and even in the articles I wrote, if you asked me what the metacrisis was even 6 months ago, I would have said something a little bit more dictionary-like of just, multiple crises happening at the same time with seemingly overlapping when one doesn't finish and another one already starts. But I think the true feeling of ick that for me is part of the metacrisis is this feeling that we have all of these crises, but no one's driving the ship. There's no captain in the ship, and the captains that we do have are so devoid of values that there's no way to trust that they're going to right the course. And so it's this feeling, I'd say, of kind of dread that we're being hit by multiple, like an asteroid attack of, several asteroids hitting the Earth at the same time, and nobody quite there who can help us find a way forward, nobody we trust well enough, and nobody who seems to be speaking both with confidence and with a true constituency. And I think that's the metacrisis, is that it is these overlapping crises that keep hitting: Ukraine war in Israel, Iran, different economic situations around the planet, the conflict, the Cold War still between China and the US, putting into question all of the former alliances, like between Europe and the US. Everything seems to be up in the air, and at the same time, you can't see any world leader who merits our respect, who seems to be speaking truthfully and offering a way forward. And I think that's why the metacrisis feels so bad to everybody. It's hard to be optimistic when we're being attacked on all fronts and there's no kind of values backboard that we can rest on.
Yeah, and definitely, I've called it like a sense of overwhelm, that it's hard for people to get a handle on it. What do you think has led to this? I don't know if you want to get into complexity here, but why are we in such a situation?
I think is something that we can really see in AI today. There's the wow of technology together with the oh shit of technology, of just feeling like we don't have a handle on this. This is bigger than we can handle. Are we really ready for this? And so the same AI backlash, I think, is a techno-optimist backlash as well. And it's also a backlash against this feeling of progress is just going way too fast. I can't keep up. And I, being anyone, a politician, a business leader, an employee, somebody in more of the bigger governmental, meta-governmental roles, I think everybody just feels like in permanent overwhelm, that I can't keep up, I'm not up to date, I need to basically learn AI 24/7 just to keep up with the latest models that came out 2 days ago, and I'll never catch up. It's like a hamster wheel. So you add complexity, which is growing in our economies, you add opacity, which is growing in our economies, from decisions that leaders are making to the technologies we're using. We already lost, I'd say, the script with the smartphones, where we don't really understand the technology. But if you take AI as a black box, now we really have no clue what's even piloting the way we think today. And so I think all of this is kind of another form of metacrisis. That's just like it's existential with layers. It's this notion of uncertainty that technology is going too fast and we don't have real control over it. It's controlling us. And so I think all of that is, a form of metacrisis. And all of this is interconnected, which is the real definition of complexity, a system where everything's interconnected and it has its own emergent traits. I think we're really living that today.
So I was watching your conversation, and there was a lot of talk about complexity, but also how to some degree, systems just have to crash. But how does that play in with the rational optimism? I'm thinking, if I know some people who listening to this would be like, yeah, but climate change is going over all the lines now, or the system is too unequal now. So how do you square those two?
So I've thought about this quite a bit, and there's no easy answer. For me, we're still in, I mentioned the climate or complexity denial. I think there's a lot of people in climate denial, but it's becoming harder and harder to be in that camp today. And so even people who are speaking about it are probably not as convinced as they sound in their interviews. But for me, like a great metaphor, again, a reason for rational optimism, is the ozone, the hole in the ozone. Mm-hmm. So humanity's, I guess, last challenge that we came together on was the ozone hole. And anybody who was, old enough to remember the 1970s and 80s and 90s, we were talking about that all the time. Its impacts on El Nino and skin cancer. Absolutely. And that, we're going to hell in a handbasket. And the humanity basically got their act together and closed the ozone hole. I think it's a pretty remarkable achievement that we did as humanity. And so maybe we need something as visible as the ozone hole in order to come together. But I think once there is no longer this ability to deny climate change, then the consensus and the desire to do something about it can have a very quick and immediate impact. I think we actually closed the ozone layer in less than a generation. So I think it was from the time we started, banning the fluorocarbons, and it took something like 15 years to get it to close. That's an amazing achievement. So I'm hoping that we can do that and not wait too late for the systems to be non-retrievable. But I'm still confident we can.
Right. That's an amazing example. Yeah, having been alive then too. Of course, it was the beginning of climate change, and it was supposed to be as amorphous and irreversible as everything is now too. So I guess that gets to the rational optimism. So basically, your advice would be for everyone to take a beat and stay calm. You wrote a really good post about AI. Do you want to talk about that? How people could actually address AI in a way that works for them, or...
Yeah. So I've been playing with AI, and I wrote a little bit about it for those who didn't see that article. But the idea is really that, if you don't think, I guess, intentionally about how you use AI, you can become dumber without realizing it. Like if you start relying in small use cases on AI because you didn't have time, taking shortcuts, just kind of accepting what it wrote for you, and saying, yeah, that's pretty good, and it's in my tone of voice, so let's go with it. You're actually going down a path which can lead you to not realize that you're walking with crutches. So thinking with crutches is using AI in a way that's kind of not really conscious of what you're doing, and you're not really aware of what's happening to you, and you're actually becoming dumber to the point that one day you'll find you're not able to write without AI. And on the other side, though, if you use AI correctly, it is the most amazing tutor that you could ever have. And it can even teach you about yourself. And so I suggest people try to use the Socratic approach. So when if I have a prompt, I'll tell Claude or ChatGPT, I'll say, listen, I'm thinking of doing an article on X or XYZ, and I'd like you to ask me a series of questions to help me think about this question. Is there a better way, a better question? What am I missing? And so I'd like you to ask me questions to help me think about this subject. And I can tell you, I've done this a few times. These conversations can go on for hours, and you can be amazed at where your conversation leads you, like the quality of the thinking, the sharpness of the ideas. Obviously, the AI tries to sneak in answers, and you say, no, it's not left or right, it's the middle. And you can, but you get into this role of like having a real conversation, and it helps you sharpen your thinking. And at the end of the day, you end up with something that's truly yours and 100 times better than you would have done on your first draft. And that's pretty amazing. And it really helps you to kind of articulate what you're thinking truly in your own words, with your own ideas, to explore kind of your own mind rather than outsourcing your thinking. You're actually asking somebody to help you work through your own thinking in a way that I've never done before. And it's as powerful as some of the conversations we have in real life with other people, where you're bouncing off ideas and you're reacting to what their ideas are, and it really enriches the conversation. Here you have a very similar dynamic with your own thinking, and I find it that it really sharpens your ability to think in general. And it's a wonderful way to use AI, and even then revisiting those conversations and seeing even maybe sometimes where you went off track in the conversation. It's a really powerful tool when you use it that way. Also, when you write an article, you write a draft, and instead of asking the AI to improve it, you can ask, well, what am I missing? How are my arguments incoherent? Am I writing with my audience in mind, or is this am I writing for an audience of one, being me? And so it will give you the answers. And if you write in your prompt, don't give me answers, just ask me questions. Again, you get into these conversations that I find fascinating. And you can do it at night when everybody's asleep. It's really wonderful. Yeah,
I've done it more intuitively in that way, but it's actually inspiring to think about actually setting out the prompt. Is there anything we missed that you would want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think AI is the elephant in the room today. What I find super interesting on the individual level, AI is asking us to rethink how we think. And to set up a new so basically we're redesigning the process of our thinking. So if you're using the Socratic approach, or using AI to be your editor-in-chief and to critique your writing, whatever. So on the individual level, like each of us has like a writing process, a creative process, whatever. We're now thinking about it actively. How do I want to manage that? How do I want to use it? How can I integrate AI into this? And how can I keep it true to my own voice and my own thinking? I don't think we've ever had to do that before. This is really a first. And so I think that's interesting in and of itself. The second thing is as I mentioned earlier, I think we're going from a naive deployment of AI by businesses and institutions around the world to a very more thoughtful deployment of AI, not a backtracking on AI, but a kind of redeployment in a different way, a more thoughtful way. And I think it's very similar to what I just described on the individual level. Companies are going to start going, okay, how do we redesign our processes with AI in mind? Instead of just putting an AI as a band-aid over the top of what we used to do and trying to do it better, faster, cheaper, how can we redesign things and you integrate AI into that? How can we do things we didn't do before? Like, for example, the question will be, how can we use AI to improve our customer satisfaction? So it's very different than find use cases for AI It's now you have like an innovation strategy. And you're saying, okay, what we'd like to do is use AI to improve customer satisfaction, which is one of our key KPIs in the company. How can we do that with AI? What are customers going to appreciate the most? And I think usually the answer is not a chatbot that can answer the questions faster, but it can be a chatbot that says, hey, don't worry, we got your message, we got your email. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the team comes in. Your message is the third one that they'll see. Jane will try to get back to you. She usually gets back within like an hour and a half from when she sees your email.
Right.
And all of a sudden it feels like a super personal message, and you haven't changed much in order to be able to do that. But the person feels like, okay, they saw me, they heard me, they explained to me where I am in the process, and so I think that's also something we're going to see is that companies start rethinking how and where to use AI. And the third one, and this one is a little bit more tricky, I think, it's about personal identity. So let's say Nathan becomes a power user in AI, and you decide to set up an agent at your company, and you teach them how to write like Nathan and to ask questions like Nathan and to podcasts like Nathan. And you give them everything you've written in your past so that they have, the whole library of what you think and how you write. And then you create an agent, which is basically Nathan, but virtual or digital twin Nathan. And then one day the company says, hold on a second, I have digital twin Nathan. Why should I pay Nathan anymore?
Right.
We can just fire Nathan and keep his digital twin because he belongs to the company. And so I think we're going to have something like this where we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have to almost hide our use of AI and can use it in an LLM outside of the company borders, right, so that the company can't claim a stake on your thinking, your writing, your knowledge, and everything else, while the company will have a clear incentive why they want you to do the exact opposite. So I think we're going to see also something about this ID, your identity as a thinking person, your voice, your writing, your experience, your knowledge. How do we keep that separate, or how do we make an agreement with our employer that says, when I leave, I take that with me. You can't keep using me, and I think that's going to make for some interesting case studies. And when you see some people, like some CEOs, are creating digital twins of themselves and forcing people to go through their digital twin first. Yeah. If I was the board, I was like, great, we don't need to pay the CEO anymore. Yeah. And so they could be shooting themselves in the foot. And so I think that's also something, I guess, maybe fun to look from the outside, but the day it happens to us, it will really feel like a violation of privacy. Like if somebody has the right to your thinking and it's not you, this could, that can be a really interesting science fiction novel. But as we know, these science fiction novels tend to get outdone by reality. And so I'm kind of thinking about that these days as well. How do we differentiate the person, the knowledge, the agent, and keep those all separate?
Right. And imagine, I could imagine, you'd have multiple agents. I mean, in this scenario, it's like if you work at 4 companies in your career, you'd have 4 different versions of you floating around. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I think it feels like the way you're talking about approaching AI could also be maybe a way out of the metacrisis, not in a, if everyone is like slowing it down and being thoughtful and being optimistic where they can, maybe that's the best we can do right now,
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is like, I mentioned the use cases. So maybe we find that the use cases, drug discovery,
right.
AI is great for drug discovery, and not so trustworthy for other areas. We're working on at the school with a professor from Oxford. We're working on synthetic research. So the idea is like using only synthetic data, but you could actually run a lot of very interesting experiments on synthetic data, and they know with a high probability which research or which experiments are actually worth pursuing because you already have validation with the synthetic data. Now you can move to real people, real data. And so, that would be a very positive impact for humanity. And I think we can find more and more of those. And we can, if we can focus AI on the positive impact. So you talked about the IDGs, so the individual development goals, but if we focus those on the SDGs, the strategic development goals as well, maybe there's an LLM for each one, and we can figure out, within AI, how today the question is, how do we feed the world? It's actually become, how do we feed the world without fertilizers, because they require oil and they're all
Right.
oil derivative. So if we say, okay, well, let's take all of this LLM compute power and figure out how can we feed the world without carbon-based fertilizers, that's probably something the AI can figure out much better than we can. And so, that's where, again, the rational optimism slips in. I think we can start finding the positive use cases for AI and try to regulate the more nefarious ones, like using drones with AI to target people in a defense or army type, military type situation, which is obviously not a positive impact for society.
Right.
So I think that's today, it's a red pill, blue pill moment. Do we go and use AI for good, or do we use it for, evil or negative uses? And today I think we're split. But hopefully we'll find a way to go to the more positive potential there.
Yeah, that seems like a really good note to end on. Well, thank you, Alon, for talking. And this was a really great conversation. And I look forward to your next posts. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back later with a new 40 conversation, either with me or one of our other hosts. So thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Nathan. Bye, everyone. Thanks
Bye.
for listening. Bye-bye.